Welcome to Flow with the Grow. I'm your host, Sophia, a health and fitness professional, positivity distributor, and a real-life human being with real-life challenges. Every Tuesday, you'll hear my honest conversations on the day-to-day highs and lows that life teaches us, as well as bring you actionable tips that you can implement to improve your health and wellness journey. This podcast will empower you to flow with the inevitable setbacks of life. You will learn what it means to flow with the grow, see through a lens of optimism, and navigate your way to living your best life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Now let's jump into your daily dose of positivity and growth. Want to come say hi?
Yeah.
Okay, come here. Come here.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
What's your name?
Rini.
Kaizen. Say, hi, I'm Kaizen.
Hi, Jason.
Say, I'm gonna go bye-bye.
I go bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, you want to do it again?
Hi. 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 Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy.
What's my name?
Rini.
No, what's my name?
Fia.
What?
Fia.
Fia.
Fia. Lay it down. Let's play it.
Put down?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what? Are you playing?
Yeah.
Yeah? What are you playing?
That one.
Oh, you want to listen to it? Okay. So, you just met Kaizen. That was Kaizen, my nephew, just the cutest. He came in and right before I was trying to record, and actually this happened twice. And just so I played with him for a little bit. And then I was back in here the second time when he came in, and he wanted to talk into the mic. And then I let him, and then I recorded him, and then so he could listen to it, and then he would listen to it and talk to it while looking at the computer. It was so funny, so cute. Every time I see him, and even my niece too, Kenley, they are getting just older all the time, and their facial features, and Kaizen is starting to talk more, way more, actually words and sentences. And I just love them so much. I didn't even think, honestly, that I could love two people or a human in this way as much as I do. And he calls me Fia. Fia, it's the best. So, hope you enjoyed that. Today, on this episode, I wanted to just speak openly and honestly about a subject that every year I guess even throughout the years, I debate on whether I should talk about it, post about it, share about my story, because there's always people out there that will judge or maybe think that I'm over-exaggerating or think that I'm trying to get attention or maybe even not believe me or that I'm bragging about these struggles so that people will feel bad for me, or I don't know, whatever it is. I just kind of get into my mind about this specific topic. But I came to a point where, and this kind of slowly happened, I guess, because I would slowly share things over the last few years. I would open up a little bit about it, and I have opened up about it before. But one, I came to the point where I don't care what others think, and if they have a problem or they have a judgment about what I share, they have the choice to not listen and to not follow me and to not read the things that I share. And number two, they or those people, others, and this is true for you if you're listening to this, other people have not lived one day as me or as you, or have lived one day as my brain or as your brain, or thought your thoughts or felt your feelings, your emotions, gone through the struggles that you have been through. They only see one side. And I know it's not my job to force them to try and put themselves in my shoes or force them to see what I see or feel what I feel or go through what I go through. So I know that as humans, we are just quick to judge. It's human nature. And I do my best to not judge people and to not make their suffering worse. Just kindly not follow them if you are not wanting to listen to what they have to say or believe them or anything. But number three, which I know I've said this many times, but I fully believe that my voice, my story, my struggles are powerful. My pain is my purpose. Like anything in life that we can learn and go through and how we can help other people, like it's because we have been there, we've experienced it, we have had those struggles. And I know that I'm not the only person who has struggled or will struggle with this. And kind of going back to that pain and the purpose, I was listening to a podcast the other day, a podcast episode, and it was one on happiness and finding happiness. And he said, I don't remember exactly who it was, but true happiness requires unhappiness. Why? Because purpose requires pain to find meaning in your life. If we miss out on pain, we miss out on post-traumatic growth experiences and learning. We need to fail more and learn more. If you don't have purpose, it means usually that you were running away from pain. So that was really powerful. And just talking just now about my pain through this gives me purpose really reminded me of this quote or of what he was talking about here. So I am here today to speak my truth in this, to kind of just talk about my story, my journey with it, to talk about maybe some misconceptions around this and the stigma around it, and share a different perspective on a few different things, and just to be as open and as honest as I can. This past week, it was National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And like I said, every year I kind of debate on sharing things about it, my story with her, just really anything about it. And then every year I decide to. And I kind of think that I'm sure there are other people out there who don't share stuff, but maybe can relate. And I'm sure there's people out there who don't want to share or are maybe afraid to share their story or put anything out there. And I applaud you if you do. That's inspiring. I know I saw a lot of people posting about it, and it kind of inspired me to also share. So I'm just going to kind of speak on all of that, on that topic. Every now and then, actually a lot of the time, not just every now and then, but I catch myself thinking and saying to myself, gosh, I wish I had the restrictive discipline with food that I had back then in high school and college. Especially high school is more of what I'm referring to, and the beginning years of college, actually. But I think to myself, and I just wish that I could go back to having that self-discipline with food and to go back to being as small as I was. But then I remember the side effects of all of that. And I know in my heart and in my mind, I know that that's not healthy. It wasn't healthy. And it brings pain, mental, emotional pain, and fear, immense fear, and really poor body image and self-talk. Like the whole mental aspect and emotional aspect is something that has stayed with me for years till today. And it's something that I'm constantly working on. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about like the recovery process, the healing process. It is not linear. It is up and down, and it may never fully heal and recover. I definitely hope to, but it's not just work on it a few times and then you're good. No, it's not that easy. I need you to know a few things. Number one, not all eating disorders look the same or have a specific look. Number two, eating disorders are not limited to a specific body type, body shape, size, gender, age, race. I think that most of the time an eating disorder people will right away go to the thought of an underweight female or a very thin, skinny person, and that's just not true. 3, everyone's journey is different with it. Number 4, symptoms are different, and some of these can be spending a lot of time worrying about weight and body shape, exercising too much, eating alone or secretly, making yourself sick, not getting your period, feeling cold, tired, dizzy, having very strict habits or routines around food, extreme weight gain or weight loss. Like those are just a few of those. And they're different. They're different for each person. Number 5, the recovery and healing processes are different, very different for each person. Number 6, smaller is not always better, healthier, or happier. I remember being at my absolute lowest that I can recall that I know of because I weighed myself constantly all the time. Like it consumed me. I would step on it day after day, morning after morning, night after night. And my lowest was at 109 pounds. And even though I celebrated that internally, like I was ecstatic about it. I was like, yes, it keeps going down. That was still 100% not enough. I wanted it to go down even more. I remember I even wanted it to get down to like break that 100 pound mark, I guess, and go to, like 98, 99. We must, as a society, as a culture, because the diet culture has kind of made it this way, or there's been a lot of things I guess have made it for this way, but we must separate our ideas about our worth and our health from things that are driven by the diet culture or the diet industry. For me personally, from high school to college to full-time job. So throughout all of these years, and I would say it really started, I think it was my sophomore year of high school, kind of right when I was in the middle of my cross-country season, and I was in running and sports and all of that, and I can actually pinpoint the moment where I think it started, and I'll talk about that. But I've jumped from one eating disorder battle to the next. So it wasn't for me, like it hasn't been just one. It's been a few, and I'll talk about that too. But it's been so frustrating. So frustrating. I hate it. It's like, to be honest, there have been nights where I would go to bed crying and just in my head and constantly thinking about food and restricting and exercise and feeling like I look at myself and I just feel like I've gained weight, or it's like my body just looks completely different, and it's just constant poor body image and negative self-talk, and I hate it. It is so frustrating. And I have cried myself to the point of impulse buying cleanses or programs like food. Like I would feel like I needed to be on some sort of program in order to control my eating, and this was more so when I was more like in the binging aspect of my life, I guess. And so I would impulse buy because I was emotionally just sad and feeling like that was the only way, the only thing to help me in controlling my food and my relationship with food. I just thought, okay, if I just do this and stick to it after I do it, I'll have a good relationship with food. It'll be better. It'll be all good. And like I can picture and visualize myself having a better relationship with food. But never, not once has it stuck for good. Like maybe a little bit after that. And I've shared my journeys with doing different cleanses and things, but every time it does not stick. And then I revert back to the way that I was, and it like magnifies the pain and this negative self-talk. But even though it has brought me frustration and pain and annoyance, it's also brought me growth and purpose. I was talking to a friend on Instagram about this because she also could relate with me, and I just kind of let her know too that like because of this, I choose to see it as an opportunity for me to help other people, for me to share my story, my journey, so that I can let other people know that they're not alone. And I don't know, it's kind of given me purpose to be able to talk about these things and to help someone else get through, or be a support system for someone else who will or has gone through similar to what I've been through. And then it's also finding people who are in the same boat as me and can relate with me. And for me, it's nice to know too that I'm not alone in that. My early/late teen years, I would say, like high school, my success and happiness really became rooted in getting smaller and smaller and having my body feel empty all the time. Like my stomach, I needed it to feel empty. And I would tell myself, I would believe that a meal of a 90-calorie fat-free yogurt and a few animal crackers and some carrots were a healthy meal, was a healthy meal, and that eating a PB&J and an apple, like that's it. That was good. Eating as slow as I can. I would have tactics to eat so slow and like swallow and bring it up, back up. I know it's gross, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in an episode called my story part 1. But I did. I had tactics for when I ate food. I had tactics mentally for when I wanted to say no to a food and to restrict those. I became obsessive with giving myself less than a serving size of any food item. So whether it was peanut butter or a bowl of cereal, I would look to see what the serving size was, and I would make sure to have way less. It was becoming obsessed with working out in order to burn every single calorie that I consumed, plus extra calories. So I made sure I was in a huge deficit. And I know like in college, when that same thing happened over exercise, and I knew that I would be drinking that night, like I would have to burn off the calories from that day, the food I would eat, and the alcohol, plus into the next day, because I just was so fearful of gaining weight. And I would compare my body constantly to those around me. I would compare my body to family, my sister. And that's something that I think a lot of us can relate with. And that's definitely still a struggle for me. I had a deeply held fear of gaining weight. This was in high school and then in college too. Like when I had dropped a lot of weight in college, I had feared the freshman 15. So really, like I lost the freshman 15 and more. But that fear was so strong that it really controlled how I ate, how I worked out, having the restrictiveness that I had with food and the routines that I would have. And I would physically see my body gaining more and more weight. Like in my eyes, I was gaining weight. When actually, when I looked at pictures, like when I look at pictures when I was in college at the time, like my freshman year and in high school, I remember seeing those pictures for the first time with a different perspective and mindset on food and fitness and relationship with food and movement. And I remember looking at those, and I would say I had a little better relationship with my body too overall, but I remember looking at those and thinking, holy fucking shit, what? Like, holy bananas. I was that small. Like I just had no idea. Back then, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I did not see what I saw in those pictures. I did not see that. So that was really a kind of an eye-opener, and just it was really crazy for me. And even now, like I will look at myself, and I don't know if anyone else can relate with this, and this is something that I've not put out on social media, I don't think, but when I eat things that are considered not healthy and they are poor nutrients and they make me just feel like shit, they make me feel bloated and inflamed and just blah. When I look at myself in the mirror, what I see is that I have gained like 10 pounds. Like my face looks full and big and my stomach. And I know that by the end of the night. And after I eat, like I'm kind of this past couple months, like I'm coming to not terms, but I'm just realizing that that's normal. And what? Like I'm 28 years old and this isn't a normal thing for us yet. Like it's normal after we eat for our stomachs to be, full and bloated a little bit. I'm not saying like to where I'm feeling super full and I stuffed myself, but I'm just saying like I ate and That's just what happens. But I will look at myself in the mirror and I look to me like a completely different person than when I eat healthier, good nutrients, and I feel good. And yes, maybe my stomach is a little bit bloated, but when I feel good after eating healthier, what I see in the mirror is completely different than when it's things that don't make me feel good. I actually feel like I look smaller, more lean, more muscle. Like, it's the craziest thing. So I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but that's been an ongoing struggle for me. So once I got older, out of my teens and into my early 20s, this was when I was in college and I didn't gain the freshman 15, but like I said, I lost, plus probably more. And I so like after high school, after I had lost a lot of weight and was super restrictive, and I kind of got back to a healthy weight and was eating more. But then when I got to college, it was a repeat of my senior year when I was, or I guess more my junior year, when I was very restrictive in fear of gaining weight and lost a lot of weight and over exercised. Like, I would only eat certain foods and I would work out excessively, like 2 hours a day, a couple times a day. I felt like I needed to run in the morning and work out later. And yeah, it was a lot. And then once I got more into my drinking party phase, I not only was binge drinking, but binge eating became a thing. And I guess that would, at that point, happen mostly when I was drinking. That's when the binge eating would happen. I would then find it easier, because I was drunk and like kind of just numb, I would find it easier to make myself throw up because of the food I'd eaten. Now, there were maybe a couple times I think where I was successful at it, but my body just does not I hate throwing up, but my body physically will not. I remember being so freaking annoyed and frustrated that I couldn't throw up the food I ate and the alcohol I drank because my body just would not do it. But I tried a lot. And then my mid to late 20s, weekly binging really became a thing. So when I say late 20s, I mean just this year, last year. Weekly binging, and then guilt and pissed offness. I don't know if that's a word, but when I say binging, I mean I would eat I would eat standing, I would eat anything I could see and fast, and it's I couldn't stop. I knew that I was going to feel like shit afterwards. I knew that what I was eating was not going to make me feel good. I knew that I would regret it, but I just found myself not being able to stop. And then guilt would set in. I would be pissed at myself for doing that. And then that's when I would feel like I needed some sort of program or cleanse to help regulate my eating and to find balance and to take back control with my relationship to food. And then I would impulse buy these cleanses. I can't even count. I can't even count the amount of times I did this, because I would be laying in bed and just going on the internet and just buying and just doing it at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. because I would eat until that late and I couldn't stop. And then I would cry myself to sleep, and then I would wake up and I would not be happy with myself. So then it would be a roller coaster of yo-yo dieting, degrading my body, and trying to accept and love my body. But really, it was not the easiest. But then I also know and remember that I've been on an up and down roller coaster, can't say that word, of constantly and intentionally improving my self-talk, having more compassion with myself. I have been working to change my relationship and views with food, not through cleanses and programs. I've been working on changing my mindset around movement and fitness and food and with my body. And one thing that has really served me well has been therapy. Definitely therapy. And I'm going to get into that and share a little bit more about that. Also, never giving up on me. And just know that if you are struggling, you are not failing. Just don't give up. The only way to fail is to give up. I have been working on challenging the negative health beliefs, the deeply held negative beliefs I have around my body and food. And in those moments, day to day, when I have those beliefs, it's challenging those thoughts, but it's like becoming aware of that and intentionally challenging those thoughts. I've been learning and trying to identify my triggers. I know exactly what a couple of them are. For example, I know that when I see a smaller, thin body, that is not good for me. That's a trigger for me. And I kind of go back to my thinking of wanting to be smaller and thinner and wanting to have the restrictiveness. And not only that, but it just makes me feel not good enough and not pretty. And it's a comparison thing. I feel like I need to lose more weight. And it's just a trigger for me in my mind. And since I know that and I've learned that, I know that on social media, when that comes up, I gotta not look at that. I gotta not follow those people for myself. One thing that's helped me a lot, like I said, has been therapy. I actually named my negative self-talk, self-belief person that tries to come in and say that I don't have a good enough body or that I need to lose weight. Her name is Ginny, and I've kind of, through therapy, found a couple ways to shut her out, which I know I talked about that on another episode, but that has helped me. I also started having a little fairy and poof Ginny away. And this actually stemmed from a couple recent sessions that I had with my therapist, and we did what's called ART. I don't remember exactly what it stands for actually, but this has been something that has tremendously helped me and in learning my triggers and in kind of rewriting my story and belief behind the negative self-talk and the battles that I have had with eating disorders. And by the way, I think that one of the reasons why I have feared why people will maybe not believe what I'm saying or will judge what I'm saying is because the amount of time that I was very small and thin was short-lived. Like, it wasn't for years. But I think that that's where people kind of assume that people struggle, like have that body type for so long, and that's what it is. That's what anorexia looks like or that's what bulimia looks like, when that's not true. Like, even though my physical body appearance was small only for a short amount of time, twice in my life, it does not mean that what I went through wasn't real, or I don't know. So just when that happens with someone else and maybe you see that and you think, oh, okay, eye roll, like you kind of roll your eyes at it. Don't discredit what they've been through because you haven't walked in their shoes. And that was just one aspect, was me being, really small, restrictive, but I also have struggled with wanting to make myself sick, make myself throw up so that I get rid of the food that I ate. And I've also struggled with the binge eating side of it. But going back to ART, me and my therapist were doing that to kind of rewrite the story in my mind, of where I think this stemmed from, which I know I did mention that in my episode, My Story Part 1, was when I was in high school and someone said something. So I'll keep it really brief here, but someone said something and I took it completely the wrong way and assumed that they thought I was FAT, and I hate that word, but that I was bigger. And that's, ever since that point, was really when I dove more into like restricting and my tactics and routines and even taking diet pills and my way of thinking, negative self-talk, all of that, comparison, worrying what other people thought of me, worrying that people would look at me and think, wow, she's gained weight, she needs to lose weight. Like, I constantly was thinking that. So it's kind of you can't see my hand, obviously, but if I'm like moving my hand back and forth and my eyes follow her hand, and we go through this whole process of like, I feel those feelings, I go through it in my mind. And then the next step is to go through it again and think about and imagine and visualize how I would have wanted it to go, not changing people, but changing my reaction to it, changing my thoughts behind it and how I responded to that, changing how I felt in those moments. And so, yeah, so very briefly, that's like what we've done. We've done it a few times with that and then with other triggers that have come up day to day. So it's very shocking, honestly, how it's like, I know people may think like it's placebo, whatever, but whatever, even if it is, it works. So it's like when I would go about my day and those triggers come up, or even thinking back to that moment of when I think it stemmed from, it's like I almost can't even remember or recall what happened. Like I have to really think about it. And instead, I instantly go to the story that I made up, or like the colors, because we kind of did some colors too, the things that kind of painted over that. And it's almost like it's just easy now. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but look it up. If ART, I know that the therapist I go to, she's kind of one of the only ones in South Dakota, I think, who is certified to do it. Or maybe I think it's kind of becoming more known in the counseling world, therapy world. But yeah, so that's something that has really helped me and has been a part of my recovery and healing process. And it's something that I'm going to continue to do for sure. And this is also why I'm super passionate about helping others and helping others live confidently and with energy and confidence through food, through fitness and movement and mindset. And it's why I want to help others develop healthier relationships with their food and with their minds and with their spirits and with their bodies. Because I know that healthy is not just about losing body fat or gaining muscle or toning and losing weight and eating better and working out more. Like, no, healthy and making healthy happen is so much more than that. It's the way that we talk to ourselves. It's the relationship that we have with food and our bodies and mentally and emotionally, and how we speak about ourselves and how we speak about and label food. I don't like to label food as good or bad, because there's no food that is good or bad. There's foods that make me feel better than other foods. And so it's kind of becoming more important to me to raise awareness around this topic and around all of this and about what healthy is or means to me, I guess, because everyone I'm sure has their own definition, but I want to shine a light on that and give you a different perspective on health. It is not just about losing weight, and it's not even just about having more energy to play with kids. Like it's that, but it is so much more. And just keeping it real here, that, like I said, like I've had some deep emotional struggles and mental battles, I'm sure, as we all have. And thoughts that really consume me or consumed me during those times, still at times, whether it was in high school, college, or even throughout time now. But just having that fear of gaining weight consumed me. Constant comparison consumed me. Thoughts of how my body looked, worrying about what others think of me, that I've gained weight, that I need to lose weight, having only certain foods that I would eat really consumed me, like fearing going out at social gatherings. Like I would not go out to eat with friends. When other people would go out to eat, I would try and stay away from family gatherings for fear of the food there. Like I would do it to avoid food and avoid the possibility of me binging and not feeling good about myself. So if you can relate to this and you're someone who you're thinking, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthier, this is a part of it. Part of health is working on these things, on not having these thoughts consume you, and on intentionally trying to change that thinking, change that story, change those beliefs. And we have to do it as a collective, because like in social media society, like it's just normal to have these things. It's normal to just want a smaller body, or to tie having a smaller body with being healthier and happier. One of the things that I also struggled with was I lost my period. I did not have it for like, I don't even remember exactly the time frame. I remember in high school and then some in college too. Like, I think it was almost a full year or more, maybe a little less. I really can't remember, but it was a long time that I just didn't have it. And I would think to myself, well, this is nice. Like, yeah, it was nice. But that then I finally later on got to a point where I was like, wow, this is not good. This is not healthy. But there was also a point where I feared getting it because when I did get it, or if I were to have gotten it, I would have thought, oh shit, I'm gaining weight. I need to stop. I need to lose weight and I'll go back to being restrictive. Like I feared getting it because I tied that with the fact that that meant that I was gaining weight and I did not want that. I think I remember one time just like it clicked after learning more about and educating myself and just things I was reading and being exposed to, like health. I don't remember exactly where I heard it, but I kind of realized that, wow, like female bodies, we can create life. Like we can hold a little baby thing in our bodies. Like how miraculous is that? Our body has the ability to do so much. It does so much for us. So much. Like I can pick things up. I can hold things. I can walk up and down stairs. I can carry my niece and nephew. It gives me the ability to move my body, to run, to work out, all of these things. And I never in the past stopped to give gratitude for that or to think about that because I was so caught up in my ways and consumed with wanting to lose weight, with the number on the scale, with restricting, with binging, with purging. And gosh, even thinking about it now, I'm just like, our bodies are incredible. We do not take the time to stop and give it some love, give it some gratitude, recognize what it does for us, whether you are male or female. And then sometimes I just have to give myself a hug, like a loving hug. And it sounds weird, but it feels so good. Like I take a bath at night, almost every night. And I will, at the end, give myself a hug. And I wrap my arms around myself and I just give it that love and gratitude for all that it does. And this has been also a part of my healing process. And I think it's something that anyone can do to kind of give back and to your body mentally, emotionally, and just recognize it. Be proud of no matter what size you are, what age, what color, what gender, give it some recognition. Give your body some recognition. So now I'm going to share a much different perspective on something. A post that this was on Instagram and it made me think, it made me go, wow, holy bananas, holy shit. Like I was kind of mind blown after this. I want to open your eyes to this and your mind to this. And I want you to challenge this belief that posting pictures, before and after pictures, is a good thing. Now, what the post said was that posting weight loss photos shows us which bodies, this is where it really hit me. Posting weight loss photos shows us which bodies you value. No matter how body positive your caption sounds, if you don't want us to believe thinner is better, then stop reinforcing that message under the guise of self-love. And I really stopped and reflected and thought about this. It's true. Posting, and I'm guilty. I'm so guilty of this. Being in the health and fitness industry, being a manager, a fitness trainer manager at Anytime Fitness, like I post before and afters all the time of clients and of members. And I kind of glorify that after photo of them being thinner. And it does show that that's what I value, that I value smaller bodies. And it kind of was a punch to the gut, I guess. But then I was like, well, yeah, but posting that also shows that they kicked maybe some unhealthy habits or that they're happier, more confident, have more energy, can do this and this, and they couldn't before. And that's true, but it still drives the idea that smaller is always better and healthier and happier. And then, you know what? If we return to that before photo, to that before body, that brings us back to that self-hate, and it magnifies, because it's almost even worse, because like that person loses that weight, is smaller, and then goes backwards, and it makes us feel defeated, discouraged, and frustrated. And then we talk even more negatively about ourselves. So like I said before, we must separate the idea of our worth and of health from that thinner is better. So, you know what, if you're listening to this and this was something that you had never heard before, maybe you had heard of it before, maybe you too are like, kind of like, holy shit, like it's kind of something new to you, let's talk about it. I would love to kind of hear your thoughts on it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? It was kind of hard to read. It just kind of made me feel not guilty, but it's something that I want to change and I want to do better with, personally and professionally. And so it's going to be me kind of thinking about, how can I share people's success from where they were to the progress that they have now, or the things that they have changed, and questioning that, but doing it in a way that doesn't show a before and after photo, or that they are smaller. And I never say before and after photos. I actually like to use more of the word progress photos. So I was kind of justifying that, like saying, okay, well, because I had heard kind of before, like before and after, like it's not a start and stop. And when I realized that, that's when I started saying progress photos. Like we're all a work in progress. But again, it's still showing that I value smaller. Smaller is better and healthier. So I want to encourage you to challenge this thought too. And I want to know your thoughts. I want to hear your feedback. Is this new? Is this something that you're going to think about? So if you are a close friend, family member, you have my number, text me. Otherwise, I am on Instagram. So I'll just throw that in here right now anyways, as I'm talking about it. Sophia_Dawn41. I'll put that in the show notes as well. I'm on Facebook. Shoot me a message. Let's talk about it. And if you are resonating with this, if it's helpful, if it's inspiring, if it's eye-opening, if there's someone else that needs to hear it, send it to them, send them this episode. You can copy and share the link, take a screenshot of this and put it up on your stories, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and be sure to tag me too. I always appreciate that. And then I love knowing what other people think from what they hear on here. I also want to just share a few things to say or maybe not say, and if you know someone who's maybe struggling, or just how you can maybe support others in a different way. Because I remember when I was in this, and especially in high school, first of all, some things that people said was kind of reinforcing this behavior, because it was glorifying and celebrating that I was getting smaller. Like, even though they were saying it, they weren't meaning it that way. Like, they would say, you look smaller, your pants are like really small on you, or like loose on you, or you're losing a lot of weight, or whatever. Like, to me, that was positively reinforcing the behavior, because that's what I wanted. But also there are times when people would say things about my food and what I would eat, and it kind of would make me feel bad, but I wasn't going to be changing the way that I ate. It also kind of reinforced the way that I was eating. So just some things to say and not say. So you could suggest practicing wellness together, maybe going for a walk together or going to work out together if that person does work out too. Be mindful of how you speak about your body, and be mindful of what you say to them about their body. Be open for conversations when they need, but don't force it on them. Don't comment on how much or what they are eating, kind of like I said before. And again, don't comment on their body size. Don't shame them for what they are eating or not eating, or how they're working out, or, don't shame them for what their behaviors are. Don't say things like, I wish I had your control. Eating disorders are not the same as when someone has willpower. It's more like saying that being obsessed with food and weight and shape is a good thing, and that they're actually lucky to have an eating disorder. Like I said, for me, it positively reinforced my behavior. Saying, I wish I had your body, that can definitely reinforce the belief that they should continue with what they're doing and their behaviors, and especially not talking about their weight, their shape, their weight loss, their food, anything around other people, especially around other people. It could make them feel embarrassed, shameful, and this one I'm speaking from experience. It could also make them feel good about themselves, but if it's in the wrong setting at the wrong time, it can really hurt them. Definitely talking about anything calorie related or like talking about any specific numbers. And that's something too that can prevent them from eating socially, or maybe it would get them to restrict even more. And because more than likely, they're actually already super aware of the amount of calories that are in the food that they're eating. So not deeming them as good or bad. And really, I think the best thing that you can do is just love them, support them, no matter what, even though it can be difficult, but also just doing research and informing yourself about eating disorders and learning more about what you can do to help and getting professional help, and just letting them know, or just making sure that they know that you do love them and that they are someone that you are someone that they can trust and can come to for anything. Maybe not specifically saying food or around, the eating disorder, but just loving on them. And lastly, I want to share this quote that I saw on Instagram. If you feel like you should, quote, know better than to engage in eating disorder behaviors, but it's really, really hard to stop, I want you to know that I see you and you aren't alone in feeling that way. After I reflected this and on my journey, I took a step back and just thought, wow, I've been to that place, because there have been so many times where I say to myself, I know I shouldn't eat this way. I know I should stop. I know this isn't good. I know that I'm not going to feel good after I do this, or I know I shouldn't engage. I shouldn't be restricted, or I shouldn't, whatever it is. But I just can't stop, or I just couldn't stop. So I've been there. And right now, if this is you, I want you to know I've been there and I see you, and you aren't alone in feeling that way. And if you just want someone to talk to, if you need someone that will listen, support you, if you want to talk about it, anything, whatever, I can be that person for you. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Or at least I would encourage you to get help and support from someone you love, someone you trust. Go to a therapist, but just have someone that you can talk to. All right. Well, I want to say thank you for listening. If you listened through to this whole end of the episode, I want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to just have this openness and honesty, and you being open to listening and to hearing my story, my thoughts, my perspective. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I still sometimes think about how crazy it is that someone will take the time to listen to what I have to share on these podcast episodes and find value in it, and whatever it is, inspiration or tips or whatever it is that you can take away from it. I sometimes just am I take a step back and I'm like, wow, I think this can help someone. Or I think that this, just thinking about how if it did help someone, it makes me smile. It's crazy. It's wild, wildly cool, wildly awesome. You are wildly cool and awesome. And I love you. With that, I hope you have a great, fantabulous rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.